We did live in front of a studio audience,
Right.
and they did Diff'rent Strokes and Facts of Life. And when they had us come out, the original
At the
cast
end,
members
yeah.
at the end, and they introduced the cast of, they introduced the cast of Diff'rent Strokes, and Todd was the only one that came out. Because I know, because I was there, I lived it with him. And that of everybody, that's literally the last man standing. I went behind those audience bleachers and I cried like I was being beaten with a skillet. I mean, I could not hold it in because I know what it took for him to be able to walk through the remake of that door. When I was a kid, I kept thinking, I don't want to be a has-been. I don't want to be a statistic. I owe my village a lot more. And so I knew that I wanted to always have a backup plan in case I didn't work as an actor, in case I went through these funky phases of, you have a name, but you're not the right look, or we're looking for this, or you're not the it girl right now. We're just all the stuff in our industry. And so I knew that I needed to have that backup plan, falling back on something. I just didn't know what. And then when I started doing Living Single, I would visit these really cool coffee houses down on the street out here called Melrose. And even, in Manhattan, down in the Village and all that. I mean, it's just coffee houses were always just awesome. And as a New Yorker, you grow up, with the smells of coffee and chock full of nuts and all of that. And so,
Yeah, I know. I do.
And so I thought back to my childhood. When I wasn't doing Facts of Life, I was in regular elementary school, and our teacher in second and third grade, our teacher would read to us at Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory every day after school. Every day after lunch, she would read to us, and it was just so great to. She had this this tall thermos with the beige top. It was that brown plaid cylinder
with the
cup that was the top
thermos.
And yes, and it was beige and brown, and the cup was beige. And she would pour this piping hot black coffee into that little cup and read Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And my desk was next to hers. I wasn't a bad kid. That's just how we were in alignment. And so I would smell that smell of coffee and be transported to this chocolate factory in this book. So now fast forward all these decades later, and I'm like, wow, coffee is really a passion of mine. I really love it. And I ended up crossing paths with people who had access to a coffee roaster who would do private labeling, but they didn't just slap your name on a label and there you go, you own a coffee line. You could come in and create your own blends, which is why I call it Signature Blends by KF, because I can go in and create my own flavors, my own roasts. It's fascinating, and it's a sustainable business and an industry that is certainly not going anywhere but continues to grow and flourish. And it was something that I could also put my own spin on it. How do I do coffee? How do I sell coffee? How do I market? So it's something that's very sophisticated but playful. It's a luxury brand, but affordable certainly, and being able to create an experience, create a vibe for somebody. And I feel like every blend is like the characters that I create.
So interesting, right? So you're creating the vibe that you got when you were hearing the book being read to you. It was such a comforting situation, I'm sure, and just transporting.
Yeah.
So I totally forgot my question. It was about the coffee. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back to that when I remember it. Okay, so
we also have tea.
Okay, but where can everybody find this coffee?
Signatureblends by kf.com. So we
Okay.
are an exclusive retail marketplace online. And so we have coffee and tea. We also have coffee-based face and body scrubs. And for the chefs out there, we also have delicious dry rubs.
Okay, just remember the question.
Yes.
You were doing this while you were on Living Single? What? This is good. And I'm not saying it because you must have been so busy, because that's obviously a
Yeah.
given, but you were still worried about being a has-been and creating something for yourself separately when you were in the middle of this successful series.
Somewhat, yes. So the timeline in terms of when Signature Blends actually I gave birth to it was actually almost right when I met you,
Oh,
2017.
okay.
When I was doing Living Single, I was living near coffee house, and I would go to coffee houses, and I was old enough now to actually drink and enjoy coffee and have an awareness of it. And I had just had the seeds planted of, I do want to be an entrepreneur. So it was all these kinds of moments that kept sticking with me. But the actual company I didn't give birth to that until 2017.
Okay, got it. Okay, so and I want to go to the entrepreneur projects that you have now, because
Yeah.
clearly you're still an entrepreneur. You still have
Yes.
these ideas. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But so going back to just a couple of questions about, you really didn't want to be a husband, and that has driven you, and
Yeah.
that has driven you to a huge amount of success, even though it was pushing a piano up a mountain or a hill. So what planted that fear in your mind? Like, or not fear, but motivation that you
Yeah.
didn't want to be a husband. Where was there one incident?
Um, it's the realization when I was very young that I was in a very unique club, let's call it, of child stars. And, child star, that moniker usually does not come with a lot of positivity. There's usually tragedy attached to it. There's usually some form of abuse that is connected with that type of lifestyle or job description. And I didn't want to have any of that be a part of my testimony.
So when you were young, you were able to see it like that?
Sure, absolutely. When I was young, I mean, when I was a kid and going on auditions and doing the commercials and then the TV shows, of course I was aware of the little girl who was on Family Affair, right? Like I remember the day that she died. And I saw it in a newspaper because I was waiting for my mom sitting in a bank and it was on the table. And I was like, oh, Buffy's gone.
Yeah, but that is powerful.
Yeah, very
Yes.
much so. You hear story, and I love like classic movies and classic TV shows. I've always loved all that, and so that being said, I also love Hollywood history, and so you just kind of see all of that, and then as you are getting your comeuppance and you're at different events or interviews and things. And I did this roundtable discussion that Melissa Gilbert and Tony Dow from Leave It to Beaver, they produced this roundtable about child stars. And I was one of, if not the only Black female that was there. The Paul Peterson, I think is his name. He played the son on the Donna Reed show. And he has an organization that really works to protect not just the rights, but the kind of the heart and soul of child stars.
Okay.
Patty Duke was on there with us. And it was great because I know her children, Sean and Mac was on Facts of Life. And we were, just kind of talking about being child stars and former child stars. And some of the stories, again, because there were generations that were there that was represented. And so being a child star in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s, very different than when I was coming
Sure.
up in the 80s. And then I was talking to the young girl who plays on the Upshaws. She plays our oldest daughter, and Kylie. And she and I were talking about how she's, now 18, but she started when she was 14, and how being a child star now is so different. And so it can be a great experience. It can be a very difficult experience because it's not the natural order of things. Children usually are not supposed to work. And in humanity's history, when they have, it was because they were either orphans or they had family debt and they were sent to some sort of workhouse or something.
Right.
So then
And
you have
those were regular jobs,
right?
too.
Yeah, regular hard ass jobs.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have vaudeville. Then you have Broadway. Then you have the silent era, and then movies. And Shirley Temple is of course the big beacon in terms of child stardom. And then she went on to have this wonderful life as a diplomat. But it's when you also then have later on in my life your contemporaries, your friends, Dana Plato. You have different people who their stories are tough and heartbreaking, but you get it. You totally get it. And so all of that, I kept going back to, oh no, my village deserves more than me deciding, oh, I don't want to live, or this is too hard, or I'm going to do drugs to take away the pain of feeling like I'm no longer wanted. That shit is hard to deal with when you're 11 and 12 and 13, that you go from being this cute kid, and if puberty is not kind to you, shit. What?
Yeah. I mean, that's...
What? And then you go past the awkward stages into young adulthood, and, it's like, if you decide, I don't want to act again, like some of the Little Rascals, right? Our gang, one of them decided to sell insurance. Can you imagine? And then somebody going, oh, didn't you used to be somebody? What?
Right. It was like, that happened recently, too. Somebody was like, oh, was this from... Oh, it was from the Cosby Show. The husband of Sandra.
Yeah,
and they made
absolutely.
such a big deal that he was delivering pizza or something like that.
Absolutely.
The pressure.
And that's a grown ass man,
right?
And was a grown ass man when he was on Cosby and filming and quote unquote famous or celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, try to handle that type of disgusting perception when you're a child.
It really is. And when you think about it, the complexity of everything as a child actor, and it's really sad that it has to be like that. And then it explains a lot also.
Yeah, very much so.
So Dana was how much older? She was older than you, right?
Just a couple of years older.
But you knew her enough to, when it happened, to be seriously impacted by that.
Very much so. Very much so.
And there were probably, there were drugs everywhere, right? But
it depends on what scene. I mean, not like at the studio,
right?
It's not like some of the older, celebrities where you got your what do they call it, your pusher, your supplier, in the parking lot. It's not like that.
There's a room behind the dining room set.
Right. Behind the cafeteria of Eastland. Right. There's our pusher.
He hangs out until Mrs. Garrett leaves.
Right. Oh my God, that's awful. But no.
Right. But the point is, you could have fallen into it.
The point is, yes, you definitely. And again, going back to Todd, Todd, he had his struggle, his bout. He kicked its ass. He did time. It was a horrible time. But we're on the other side.
I don't think people realize it either, that Todd's been clean for so long.
Exactly.
It's like they have not forgotten. They still think he's either using drugs, in prison, or dead. Yeah. Which is not true, any of them.
Let me tell you something. When we did live in front of a studio audience, and they did Diff'rent Strokes and Facts of Life, and when they had us come out, the original
At the
cast
end,
members
yeah.
at the end, and they introduced the cast of they introduced the cast of Diff'rent Strokes, and Todd was the only one that came out. Because I know, because I was there, I lived it with him. And that of everybody, that's literally the last man standing. I went behind those audience bleachers and I cried like I was being beaten with a skillet. I mean, I could not hold it in because I know what it took for him to be able to walk through the remake of that door. So, yeah, it's hard. And so, yeah, it motivated me. Yeah. I'd be lying if I didn't say when I went to visit Todd down at LA County that there wasn't a part of me going, I love you, bro, but this ain't gonna be me. And you can say it, but shit, life. Life will life you in a heartbeat. And so, yeah, it's motivating.
Yeah, I mean, wow, how motivating. I mean, you took something that was so challenging, deeply, but you really managed to do something positive with it. No easy feat.
No, it's not. And for the longest time, I would kind of brush aside the work that I do to have this be my testimony. Yes, I'm very blessed. Yes, I have an incredible village. Yes, I have an enormous amount of support and love. But there are times when it's still just me. And it's me that has to still wake up and put one foot in front of the other and all of that. And I just recently got to a place of going, hey girl, hell yeah. you are an it girl. You are on fire. Absolutely. You did that thing. And not that it's not, it's something that I started calling bold humility. Because yeah, I'm humble and that's what I was taught. But I'm not gonna shy away from the work that I've had to do to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And not just here being famous, still in new blessings. But I'm above ground.
What are you feeling right now? I feel emotions, deep ones.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. And I don't just say that because of, the easy stuff, my children or my family or whatever. I say that because I I love my life and I love living and being here and being a part of the things that I am a part of and loving the people that I love and who love me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, took a lot to be here.
Yes.
My guess is you sometimes just try to just keep it going.
Keep going. Yes, thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And so there isn't time that you give yourself maybe to feel this
Yeah.
and to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But I really do think it's important for you to feel it and acknowledge it.
Yeah. The tagline for my retreats is give yourself permission to be well. And it came from, first part of it came from give yourself permission. Because as an actor, you're always taught, and then as a director, you're always taught to tell and encourage the actors to give yourself permission to go there.
Okay.
Give yourself permission to go there. And, not censoring yourself. And when I started down this path, it became, well, give myself permission. And that was such a springboard. Give myself permission to live or to laugh or to dance or to create or to be pissed off, be angry. Give myself permission. And it just became something that was it was liberating. There are spaces that I'm finding that I still have to give myself permission. This apparently is one of them.
I was just going to say, you need to give yourself permission to acknowledge what you've done, because it's big and it was a long time in the making. And yeah, give yourself permission for that.
Yeah. I did a meditation course at the top of the year. And one of the days, it was a 31-day challenge. And one of the topics was, tell yourself thank you for getting us here. And I have this coffee mug that's chalkboard surface. And so I try to write stuff on it. And I wrote that on the coffee mug that day. Thank you for getting us here. And apparently I haven't thanked myself again.
Can you please start thanking yourself?
Yeah.
You know, you're thanking everybody else.
Yeah.
But you do need to thank yourself too.
Yeah.
And boy, did you get here.
Yeah. I think I was talking with a friend of mine who's a meditation influencer, and we were talking about my almost discomfort with being content, because I feel like even now, be present, but you're always still, I have to make sure the next thing is in place. And the next thing is in place. And so I felt like if I'm content, then I'm not actively getting either ready for the next thing or putting things in place for the next thing to be manifested and executed.
Right. But it's the balancing again. Yes, it's the pull.
Yeah.
Because both. And maybe it is a little bit less of contentment to still continue on the path that you're in. Maybe it doesn't have to be 90%. And that's okay too. And you can be comfortable with feeling that way, as long as it's not discontent per se.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's you don't have to always strive for happiness. Because that's not the only thing that there is out there.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And I think sometimes that is a fast track to not being happy.
Oh my God, yes.
So okay, so maybe you're not
being on a runaway freight train.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't need to be, 90% content. It's okay. It's whatever your number is.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like a sleep number mattress.
Right. I don't have one, but I do have a good friend who does. And yes, I know what you're talking about. Do you have one?
Right. No, my mother does.
Okay.
My mom and dad do, and that's their, but it's like you said, that number, but it goes back to when I said earlier, it's not, balance is not equal parts to all the aspects.
Right.
Sometimes it's whatever the number is that works for you in that moment.
What are some of the other things that you need to give yourself permission to do? That you're still working on?
I've been told that I need to give myself permission to have more grace for myself. I can be very hard on myself. I have a certain expectation from myself in certain, in certain ways, in certain spaces, when I'm on set, when I'm, in mom mode, when I'm as an entrepreneur. When I'm wearing all these different hats, I have a certain expectation. I have a very high bar for myself, very high bar, full of marvelous details, that kind of creates the trajectory to that bar. And so when I am not meeting it, I can be very hard on myself. Not to a point of, you need some help, girl. But just being able to do that check in on myself, like, okay, it's all right.
Right.
And I've gotten better, definitely, but there are times when it's like, ugh.
Yeah. It's like pulling away and seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah, you got to zoom out.
You're always going up,
Mm-hmm.
but you're sometimes, if you don't feel it's happening right in that moment,
right,
you may beat yourself up about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
I didn't get this done.
Yeah.
And I've let go of the idea of like lists. They're helpful, don't get me wrong, and they help me to stay, quasi-organized and all of that. Cut to Kim looking at her team member, her publicist, who's like, whatever. But I've gotten better again, but it is, there are times when I feel like it can get a little bit more, than others. And I just have to take a deep breath. I'm very intentional about breath and learning more about how to breathe and the value of sacred breath. Sacred breath was a phrase that I started really embracing during the pandemic, because literally breath was so damn sacred at that time. And being able to, then zoom out and go, okay, no, it's not just in a pandemic or a lockdown. It's literally what is needed to stay here and honoring it as sacred. So understanding that it is very important, and cleansing breath is not just some, it's not woo at all. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
It's real. It's connected.
It's very real. And
your mind and your body.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so that has helped me tremendously.
Okay, so we're running out of time.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to wrap
Rapid fire. Up. Let's go.
And no rapid fire.
Okay.
Just wrap it up, because rapid fire feels a little stressful, and I'm not here to stress you out. Let's relax. Let's stay relaxed. But I do want to mention to everybody what your wellness, your retreat is all about. So how about a minute about that? Sure.
So Refresh Retreat by KF. Those are some really special words that I'm very excited about. It started last year at the end of the year. The writers, our industry was on strike. And I was like, well, what I'm going to do, because I'm not just going to sit around and wait for them to say, okay, we're not striking no more. And so.
In true Kim fashion.
In true Kim fashion.
Right. It is so you.
It is so me. And so in September, I went to this beautiful resort and at Labor Day. And I went for a few days, and then I was like, I should do a retreat here. Now, it's a quick sidebar. I ain't never been on no wellness retreat.
You've never even been a guest at one. Or seen one, like if you were staying at a hotel?
Never. Right. Never had. No, I just knew.
Also very Kim. It works still.
Totally so
why
Kim.
Who cares?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's I want to do a wellness retreat. Don't know what that means. Thankfully, my aunt Pat, I yanked her out of retirement, and I used the word yank intentionally because she was very happily retired from being a certified meeting planner, and especially with a 20-year career at Mattel. And I was like, I want to do a wellness retreat. I have a great resort, and they said yes, and they want to partner with me. And so, could you help me? So she became my event planner. And we put together these great graphics, immediately got a website going, and I started reaching out to wellness influencers and people that I either followed or knew their journeys and things. And we did a wellness retreat, literally 3 months later. Like, and people were like, who does that? How does
well,
that even
Kim
happen?
Fields does that.
And the people who were there, we had somebody come in from Australia, somebody from Hawaii, New York, Virginia, Tennessee, and they were like, "Wait, what?" and it was so much fun, and that was the thing. I just kept going off of, well, what would I like to do at a wellness retreat? And I don't want wellness to feel that it's something that I can't sustain. It's something that I can't access, or it's something that is so difficult that it's a chore. And then it becomes something else I got to do for myself. And so I just kind of put all those things in a bottle and corked it and had lightning in a bottle, I guess. So we're doing, so the resort said, we'd like for you to do 4 retreats a year. I was like,
4 a year?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So now I'm like, hey, listen, we can do maybe 2 a year, because no. So now we've got one in June, spring into summer edition. And people can find out all about it at refreshretreatbykf.com. But we do a sound bath. We do this wonderful nature walk that's in this beautiful lakeside, mountainside environment, acres and acres of this wooded environment that's just beautiful. And you have a lot of fun. We have a dance party. We have mixology tutorials. We have meditation. I don't have people come in and do keynote addresses. We do fireside and lakeside conversations, much like this. I think it's just more engaging. I wanted people to feel like they were in immersive experiences. And so I curate all of the itinerary, the spaces, the menus, the refreshing friends, the entertainment, everything. So yeah, and in my spare time, I just put on a retreat.
Right. So you are so you, and it's what makes you. I mean, these are the things, right? All of our assets are also. I'm not going to call them flaws, but like, they have liabilities. I guess.
Yeah.
So there are some liabilities, but they're also like part of the asset.
Sure.
So it's a matter of finding your number.
Absolutely.
Or your numbers.
Yep.
And just like holding the pole.
Yeah, very much
and,
so.
And you're a beautiful person, and you should be being you in all of those wonderful ways that make you happy as you.
Well, like attracts like. And so you seeing that, I recognize that in you. And so I recognize that. And so there's that kind of kindred spirit vibe going on, you know.
Totally.
So, I mean, like when your request came through, I was like, oh, yeah, of course. We had so much fun. I still have pictures. That great Edith Head quote that's on there.
You remember.
Of course I do.
I was just showing Michelle the pictures too, and you had the red hair at the time.
And I had the red outfit. Absolutely. Yes. We had a great time. Absolutely. But that's you. I mean, so, you're light and light. We're putting our light together. Absolutely. And the luminance is just fantastic.
Yeah, I love light.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm drawn to it, and I'm all about that. Yeah. So I think this is a perfect place to close.
I think so.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much.
Until next time.
Until you come and retreat with us.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.